Good morning. It is a true delight to be here with you today. I want to start out by thanking Middle East Economic Digest for organizing this event for the second year in a row, I believe, and special thanks to Richard Thompson for his personal involvement with it. Although I have the Middle East Economic Digest logo on my screen, it is only to indicate the venue. The views I'm going to share are my own. They are shared by a large majority of my colleagues in WAPPP. And this is something that we at WAPPP work towards, mainly improving PPPs and what we call next level PPPs, which is making them better and more suitable for the future ahead. In the past few years, we've all become very conscious of the huge gap in financing infrastructure. For many years, governments have neglected investment in infrastructure and prefer to channel their investment to other programs that might be more popularly or politically interesting. The result is crumbling infrastructure in many parts of the world, and in other parts of the world that are experiencing tremendous growth, there's a huge need for new infrastructure. Government finances all over the world are stretched to the limit, and therefore almost all governments all over the world need the involvement of the private sector to invest in infrastructure. And by infrastructure here, I mean not only traditional infrastructure of bridges and roads and dams and power stations, but I'm also talking about social infrastructure and other relevant infrastructure. So if PPP is becoming very important and very needed, what is the issue? Well, the issue is that in many parts of the world, in many different, even local communities, PPP is regarded with a lot of cynicism, with concern. People are not sure if this is just a ploy for the elites to put their hands on all the resources of the nation or the region. And this is very important. If we don't have social backing, people's backing for PPPs, no matter how well intended the government projects and initiatives are, they will eventually fail. In order for these PPP projects to be done in a way that satisfies people and their needs and their expectations, these PPP projects have to be designed correctly and adequately and implemented correctly and adequately using international best practices built from or based on the experience that we have all garnered over the many years now that PPP has been in place. So in this regard, there are many initiatives. Some are called People First PPP. There are ESG nomenclature and criteria and other ways of doing PPP projects. But what I want to talk about today is not so much the technicalities of it, but really the policy aspect. And I would like to talk to PPP units, to governments, to multilateral development banks, to the people that are really involved in making the decisions on PPP projects. I will then end with a few comments about the MENA region. So I'll start with PPP units. When we look at PPP units, we all find that they have good staff. The staff is usually getting trained. They're getting certified for CP3P certification, which is all great. However, this is not enough. Staff need hands-on experience, and many countries don't have enough projects, unfortunately, to provide that hands-on experience. Therefore, it is very important to diversify the staff. PPP is not only about just the general rules of PPP. PPP involves financing and really strong knowledge of finance. Typically, in the days that I've been involved with PPP in the US and Europe, there are investment banking teams that are involved in putting together these PPP projects. So you need strong strong expertise in financing. You need strong legal expertise. You need expertise in environment, in social matters, in of course, the technical aspects. And this expertise is rarely available and can rarely be found in one person or one small group of people. It is therefore very important that the PPP unit staff be diversified, not just made up of traditional government employees that have obtained CP3P training. You need to get senior advice, especially if you don't have the volume to create that experience, senior advice from people who have had hands-on experience. I know that many PPP units go out and retain consultants for their projects, but consultants for projects are typically large firms that win these mandates, and they typically put a lot of junior people working on doing research and doing presentations and all of those things, which are very important, very, very important, because that is part of the design of a project. However, for policy matters, I think that PPP units ought to give serious consideration to retaining perhaps individual consultants that have had hands-on experience, not consultants. They would not be consulting on a specific project, but on the overall policy and the overall pipeline and program. I believe, for example, Uzbekistan has done this in the past few years, and it is showing great results. Involve stakeholders. When we talk about People First PPP, we're talking about involving all stakeholders, and especially the intended project users. So this is very important for PPP units not to fall into the idea of we're just going to design this project and run with it because we know best. Invite transparency organizations. That's what I did when I was Secretary General of the High Council for Privatization in Lebanon. Even though the law did not require it, even though the guidelines did not require it, even though many politicians were against it, I did invite Transparency International to sit in our meetings and follow the project from the inside out, in order for them to gain a comfort level. Actually, not only Transparency International, but a consortium of civil society entities led by Transparency International at that time to accompany us and be able at the end to say, this project has been done with full transparency. Get involved with WAPPP. If you are not members of WAPPP yet, whether you're individuals or whether you're a PPP unit, please do get engaged. Please do get involved. There's much for you to gain from that. For governments, I'd like to talk to governments and say, focus on SDGs. SDGs are your are your roadmap to development, to a better future for your people. Use PPP not as a tool for public procurement. This is something I've been saying for years. PPPs are not a tool for public procurement. PPPs should be used as a tool for development. Focus on PPPs and make them an integral part of your policy. Eliminate power islands. Usually there's one ministry here or one ministry there that says, I know how to do this, let me do it, let the PPP program be done for other sectors. This is absolutely the wrong way to go. For example, in many countries, power sectors, they have traditionally been doing IPP projects, etc. And they say, we know how to do IPP projects, let us do them. That's fine. Well, however, this needs to be integrated within the PPP program, because we're no longer now talking about energy for the sake of energy. We're talking about energy that is involved in environment, energy that is involved with agriculture, energy that is involved with the water. So these sectors are no longer separate. They should not be viewed separate. They should be viewed as one part of a whole: environment, agriculture, water, energy, even urban development and urban design. This is all should be an entity with the SDGs at the viewed in their integrity at the planning stage. Go beyond the traditional infrastructure for tourism. There are many countries where they have given very little attention, for example, to agriculture in PPP. Their PPP units are very involved with the traditional infrastructure, but not looking at things like agriculture, like ICT technology, urban development, like export projects. You know, PPP can be used, whether it is for special economic zones or other things, to spearhead or to provide a basis for export. And many non-oil exporting countries do need the hard currency. Involve the investment promotion agencies within the PPP programs. Investment promotion agencies need not sit on the side and not be involved with the PPP unit. So this whole thing needs to be integrated. Educate politicians. Politicians usually don't understand PPP. They want their projects done at the snap of a finger. They want an airport built in 6 months. These things are not realistic. So politicians need to understand. We at WAPPP are very happy to work with you to educate your politicians, your parliamentarians, your ministers, for them to appreciate how PPPs are done. They are never going to sit into a CP3P program. They are never going to, go through the traditional way of training for PPPs. We're happy. I'm happy to work with politicians in a more straightforward way that they appreciate in order to understand PPP. Multilateral development banks. I urge the multilateral development banks everywhere to focus on, especially on countries that lack capital markets. This is not, of course, the case of the GCC countries, but other countries that lack capital markets, to build local capital markets. It is local markets that are going to finance the smaller PPP projects, the schools, etc. So this is very important, especially when we're talking about renewable energy and projects that now are becoming done with a template. And so can be done at a small scale, even at the municipal level. So therefore, what is needed is a lot more engagement with local capital markets. Working with NGOs. In my country, in Lebanon, there's been a lot of work done with NGOs because we have had virtually non-performing government for many years. And many other countries the same, in Brazil, for example. So when you build your PPP pipeline and projects, don't only think of engaging for-profit companies. Think of what you can do, especially in social infrastructure with NGOs. Finally, a few words on the MENA region before I finish. The MENA region, as you know, is composed of many countries with different development levels, with different types of government, with different backgrounds, and some, with a lot of money, some with no money at all. So it is very difficult to generalize. But I think that today, through this workshop and this event, there's much to be learned. Many of you may not have followed the WAPPP annual Congress recently, but there were several presentations by PPP units. Some of them, including Egypt and Tunisia, presented and very interesting programs they have. Follow the PPP units. If you're an investor, or if you're a PPP consultant or professional, follow the PPP units. See what projects they have. In the MENA region, the important thing for governments and PPP units is to avoid arrogance, to avoid the idea of following bureaucracy. Please, I urge you, be free thinkers. If you're a PPP professional in our region, we need free thinkers. We do not need people that just, follow the rules. Try to, like toddlers, try to make the rules wider. Try to improve on them. Try to engage with the international community. This is very, very important. I hope that this advice is of use. I hope I did not bore you with it. I look forward to talking to you more during this event. And thank you very much.